It was meant to be a day of celebration, but now 47 people, including children, are injured, 2 of them in a serious condition after a car rammed into a group of fans who had come out to celebrate Liverpool Football Club winning the Premier League.
Oh, no!
It happened around 6 p.m. as the vehicle tried to drive down a packed Water Street in the city centre. After facing resistance from the crowd, the car appears to suddenly speed up and veer into horrified fans.
From left to right of the road was the road was packed. We're like sardines walking up the road, and a car drove through. So you can imagine people couldn't get out of the way on time, you know.
Sooner than we knew it, just straight through we went, and a couple of people,
the car into
reverse, going back over people and continued on down.
The car lifting up because of the people underneath it.
Police confirmed a 53-year-old, believed to be the driver, had been arrested at the scene. A white British man from the Liverpool area, they added, keen to stop rumours spreading after previous mass casualty events in the area had led to conspiracy theories online and riots.
It is vital that people do not speculate or spread misinformation on social media. I know that people will understandably be concerned by what has happened tonight. What I can tell you is that we believe this to be an isolated incident, and we are not currently looking for anyone else in relation to it. The incident is not being treated as terrorism.
Speaking at the scene this morning, the Metro Mayor for Liverpool City said the decision to detail the suspect's ethnicity was vital to calm an already tense situation.
What it was about is trying to dampen down the fears that were being created through social media platforms by some of these groups for nefarious reasons, because there were still hundreds of thousands of people in the city centre, and so the police quite rightly were trying to give some reassurance messages. I think there's a tangible disappointment from some of those groups that this was a white male from Liverpool or the Liverpool area, rather than somebody that they could then claim that all of the nonsense, all of the hate and the bile that they espouse could be levelled against this individual if it had been a different colour skin.
The Prime Minister thanked first responders and said the whole country stands with Liverpool.
Well, scenes of joy turn to utter horror and devastation, and my thoughts and the thoughts of the whole country are with all of those that are affected, those injured, which of course includes children, their families, their friends, the whole community, Liverpool fans everywhere.
As police continue their investigation into the incident itself, there are questions for them too. Least not. Why was a car able to drive down a street full of people in the first place?
Well, joining me now is Emily Sparrow, who's the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us. What's the latest you can tell us about the investigation?
Firstly, if I could just put on record my thoughts, obviously, with the individuals who have all been affected by yesterday's incident. The police have confirmed that they have arrested a 53-year-old male from Liverpool. And so that was obviously released last night. And the investigation now is ongoing. They are appealing to the public for anybody who has any information, who saw what happened. Please share that with Merseyside Police, and that will help them to put the pieces together.
Do you think there's going to be more information released later today about what's going on with the investigation? Are you expecting that information to be released to the public?
I know that the police are very keen to confirm details as soon as possible. We want to make sure the public have the right information and they know exactly what is going on. They obviously have to, make sure they've got accurate information, so they are working through that as quickly as they can do. As I say, they are looking at all of that information, looking at that CCTV. They're obviously interviewing the individual who is currently in custody. So I am sure that as soon as they can share that information with the public, they will do so as soon as they can.
What more can you tell us about those who are still in hospital? We know 4 children who have been injured. How are they?
So we heard from the ambulance service, 27 were transported to hospital. 2 of those were seriously injured and one of those was a child. We are, getting positive feedback in terms of the nature of those injuries. Obviously, we're making sure that support is in place around them and they're getting the best possible care. I would just ask that, obviously, we give them their privacy as much as possible. I know that people want to know what's going on and who's been affected, but the families have asked for privacy as much as possible so these individuals can get the right care and treatment.
Police this time have named the ethnicity and the nationality of the person they believe is the driver. That was something that's quite unusual that's been picked out. Is this something that the police should do going forward?
I think the police always try to put that information out into the public domain. It's important the public know, what's going on and who's responsible as soon as possible. I think it's right the public have access to that information when it's appropriate to do so. Unfortunately, we know, very quickly after yesterday's incident, there were lots of people who were sharing bad information online. There were, bad actors, as I refer to them, who were putting out false narratives, sharing misinformation, trying to, cause division within our communities to stir up trouble.
What did you see online? What did you see online after the event? Did you see lots of this misinformation about what had gone on straight away?
I was getting lots of reports of misinformation, of things being shown that were suggesting, one scenario versus another of who they thought was involved. There was lots of information being thrown out there, which is why it was important that the police release that information as soon as possible to confirm and rebuke any false information that was being put out there, because it is important that the public know what's going on. And I think that was the right thing that the police did that as soon as they did.
Is this now a precedent, though, you will release that kind of detail quickly? And does it put police forces under pressure to have to do that so quickly?
I don't think it's unusual to release the types of details that they did. The important thing that the police are always very mindful of is making sure that information is accurate. And so they want to make sure they give as much information as possible as soon as possible without undermining any accuracy, because sometimes things can take a while for details to come to light and the police have to be able to get that right. But also we want to make sure we safeguard that criminal justice process, because ultimately, if somebody has committed a crime, we want them to face justice in cause. And so we do have to get that balance right.
There has been criticism of how a car managed to enter a road full of Liverpool fans who were celebrating their team's victory, going from joy to such horror in a matter of moments. Can you shed any light on why that car was allowed to enter such a busy area?
This is absolutely the questions that certainly I've asked. And I know locally, police, council, other partners, they're all asking that question to try and understand what happened, what went wrong, why did that car manage to get into that area. I don't have the answers as yet. The police are obviously working through that. They're talking to different people on site to try and understand how that happened.
Are you concerned then that there weren't proper restrictions in place?
Not in a position to say that's the case. Merseyside Police have done thousands of these events. They work incredibly closely with Liverpool City Council when they have big events like this on. There was a lot of planning that went into it, and we have seen lots of events happen without any incident whatsoever. So I have lots of confidence in the police and the council's ability to put these events on. Obviously, we need to find out what went wrong this time and try and make sure that, if anything needs to be done differently or anything learning needs to come out of it, that happens.
And just finally, Emily Sparrow, what's your message to children in particular and people in Liverpool who are really shaken by these events?
Understandably, the community, the children, those individuals who were there are going to be shaken up by this. It was such a brilliant day. It's been a brilliant weekend of events across the city, and for it to end in such a tragedy is really really heartbreaking for those kids who are ultimately trying to celebrate their team doing so well. So I will say we see these crises, and actually the way that Liverpool responds, the way the community responds is brilliant. And I've already seen lots of offers of support, lots of offers of help. But I know, and I've already seen how well the Liverpool community has come together, that the shining message will be one of community and unity, and not the awful events of what happened.
Emily Sparrow, Merseyside's Police and Crime Commissioner, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Thank you.